just seen her. She's not been round, I reckon.
Ruby, you're holding up the line.
Don't call me that.
You what, Ruby?
I said don't call me that.
Beg your pardon, Miss Mitchell. Might I point out that you're blocking the stairs? Now move it. Move it. Pick your tiny feet up, ladies. Have you seen her yet?
Not a sign.
Good. Here at last, is she, Mr. Radley?
No, not yet, Chief.
Been stood here on parade for I don't know how long. What is she up to?
Well, she's had an hour with the admin officer, and the chaplain and the workers officer. For the last hour, she's been alone in her office and has left orders that she is not to be disturbed.
Most inconsiderate.
Ah, she's come from a fairly easygoing open prison. She probably doesn't realise how important punctuality and routine are in a place like Stone Park. We'll have to break her in gently.
Look, it's all very well for the department to give Mrs. Forrester a year off to go and study the Nicks in Holland or Sweden or wherever.
Holland, Sweden and Denmark.
But they might have done a bit better by us in the meantime.
Oh, come off it, Chief. Mrs. Marshall's had a lot of experience.
At Lexham, we've all heard about that. She ran it practically like a holiday camp.
She's very popular. Got very good results.
It was all first offenders and high IQs. She's not had to deal with the real hard cases. You can't give them the key of the door and say, now then, don't let me down, you're on your honour.
Oh, she may be a bit more lenient than we've been used to, but I think we're going to like her. After all, she's only got to keep the place running smoothly.
It's only for a year. Why didn't they let you run the store? At least we'd have known where we are.
Yes, well, that's another matter. We shouldn't be having this conversation, really.
Oh, very well then, Mr. Radley. What about reports? You going to take them, or do we send the women away?
Come off it, Chief. I'll try and find out what's holding her up.
Down, boy.
They don't make them like that anymore, big.
Just as well for the rest of us.
Yeah. How's Peter got on?
Why ask me?
I just thought you might have heard.
Oh, when's the governor's meeting?
Oh, we're running a bit late. When she's fixed the time, I'll phone round.
I can't wait to meet her properly. My department's been a bit short-changed lately.
Oh, by all accounts, welfare's one of her specialities, so you'll probably be working quite closely with her.
Hope so. It'd be a change to have someone at the top who speaks my language.
Oh, yeah? What's that? Patagonian?
You what? You left the key inside and closed the filing cabinet? Oh, you fool. Oh, yes, well, I do see it's very embarrassing for the governor to have to burgle her own office. Now, listen, in the bottom left-hand drawer of the desk, you'll see a box full of odds and ends. There's a spare key in there. Oh, not at all. I only wish I could phone up the person I've taken over from. No. Everything's going very well, fingers crossed. But they're a high-powered lot, so I'm playing it by ear. Listen, I'm sorry, but I must go. I'm reading their case histories, and I think I'm keeping them waiting. But anyway, give them all my love. And tell Lizzie Fields that if she doesn't marry that chap when she gets outside, she needs her head examined. Yes, well, I agree she does anyway, but nevertheless, just tell her from me. Not at all, anytime. Come in.
I wondered how you were getting on, Mrs. Marshall.
Oh, quite well, thank you.
Good. It's just that, we do have quite a strict timetable here.
Yes, I realise that.
We, like to stick to it as closely as possible, otherwise it's unsettling for the women and the staff.
Mr. Radley, I'm quite aware of the importance of a fixed routine in a security prison.
Yes, of course, I
But
just
you
meant...
will appreciate that I have a great deal to catch up on and familiarise myself with.
Of course, I understand. It's just that, well, for example, the chief officer has been waiting for quite a while with the women who are on report. There's 14 of them this morning.
Yes. I've just been reading the case histories. You see, I prefer not to make judgments without knowing the facts.
Yeah, I see. What I meant was that, if you're busy, I could take reports for you this morning.
Well, then reading the case histories would have been a complete waste of time.
Yes.
I see the senior medical officer's not here.
No, he's in Liverpool. On a conference. We expect him back this afternoon on the 2:30.
I see. Well, since we seem to be keeping everybody waiting, perhaps we should go. Mr. Radley?
Yes, yes, of course.
What do you like, Miss Collins?
Oh, I only saw her when Mrs. Forrester brought her round. She seemed very nice, a bit quiet.
For one thing, having her here, maybe it'll cut down the number of applications for a transfer to Lexham.
I doubt that they'll be coming here.
Looking forward to a cushy life, are you? Well... Oh, don't kid yourself. There's always trouble when a soft governor takes over from a tough one. All the flying nicks start chancing their arm, and that means more work for us, as usual.
You see, in an establishment of this size, there is a great deal to get through. I mean, after reports, there's a governor's round. And by that time, it'll be coming up lunch, and the chef will be waiting to have the day's menu approved and tasted.
Well, then, to prevent confusion in the kitchen, I suggest you taste lunch, Mr. Radley. Come along, Mrs. Armitage. We must get on with it.
You heard what she said. Get on with it.
3 days loss of pay.
3 days? But I only took a lousy little piece of material from the sewing shop.
That is theft of government property.
Whether or not, madam. Last time I done it, I only got a warning.
Well, it's because you've been warned that you are now being punished. If you persist in the offence, then the award will be doubled.
Right. Trouble with Nancy, madam, is that she's a born scrounger. She doesn't see it as theft.
Oh, listening.
There's no harm in it. She picks up a bit here and a bit there to make these dolls for her little girl.
Whom she persistently neglects when she's outside. Next.
Next!
There's no crime in your looking, I suppose?
You'd have made it one if you could.
Watch it, Ruby.
You want a snout?
No thanks, it's bad for the chest.
So I've noticed.
What's she like?
The new governor. She's a bloody bitch.
Oh, not like. So, when I heard you were coming here, madam, I had to make an application to see you.
Why?
Well, you were so good to me at Lexham, like so understanding. And I promised you I wouldn't get in any more trouble. I wanted to explain what had happened.
But I've read the report of your case, Mandy. I know what happened.
Well, yes. If only I could see you alone. Well, there were other factors involved. I just can't bear the thought of you might not trust me again.
When someone commits a crime, it may be on impulse, it may be an isolated event in their life, so they should be given the benefit of the doubt. But if they then commit the same crime again, it would be very foolish to trust them a second time, unless they'd proved they'd earned it.
This is Mrs. Spencer, the principal officer of Northwing.
How do you do?
Madam, Officers Bailey and Parks.
The women have had their lunch, haven't they?
Yes, madam.
Then why aren't they back at work?
It's because of the shortage of instructors and training personnel, madam.
We have to stagger working parties, morning and afternoon.
I see. Thank you, Mrs. Spencer. Is the AG in her office?
Crikey.
So that's the new top bitch.
She looks nice.
She's a right cow. They took her heart out and gave her a rule book in its place.
Thought you said she was civilised, Mandy.
Well, she used to be. She was a right Mary Poppins. I don't know what's going to her.
Well, they're all the same. Little Hitlers.
You know something? You've got really beautiful bones. What do you want to put all that muck on your face for?
I like to look my best. She'd spend all day on her face if she could. All her pay goes on makeup, lipstick, eyeshadow, shampoo.
Hey, I'd like to sketch you. I do a bit of that.
What, drawing like?
Bitch is great. Here, look at this.
You think that's you?
Yeah. Did you do that?
I like to do you sometime.
You'd be lucky.
Shouldn't take long. Do you mind?
It's nothing to do with me. If Karen wants to.
What do you say? You might even come to enjoy it.
Do I get to keep the picture after?
Come along, don't just sit around doing nothing. We are doing something.
What?
Sitting around.
Very funny. Well, when the new governor comes out of her office, you'd better be looking busy, okay?
That Park, she's really got it in for you.
You reckon?
She fancies Mitch. Mitch says
Shut
that
up!
So, the wing's more or less at capacity, Miss Collins.
Yes, Governor, unless 3 to a cell becomes the rule, which I wouldn't like.
No.
It's the increasing crime committed by women. Violent crime, especially amongst the young. They hadn't bargained for that when they began to phase out security accommodation.
No, apparently not. Have you any potentially violent cases on this wing, Miss Collins?
Well, in my experience, almost any prisoner can become violent given the right circumstances. But the only one with a positive history of it at the moment is Ruby Mitchell.
Ruby Mitchell.
She was an art teacher dismissed for corrupting the young.
Yeah, she's pretty intelligent, but a mass of neuroses.
She's a man-hater.
Oh?
She had 2 girlfriends. She trained them to entice men in pubs. Then they took them out the back and mugged them. She half killed a couple of fellas.
I see. And what about Amanda Shaw?
Mandy's not violent.
No, but how's she behaving?
Very well. No trouble at all. In fact, if you met her outside, you'd say, what a nice girl.
And this aggression you feel building on the wing, you think that's due to overcrowding?
It seems likely, but it's hard to pin down. Just usually well-behaved women suddenly getting a stroppy for no apparent reason.
Well, certainly can't be helped by them being allowed to mooch around for half the day with nothing to do.
It'd be worse if we locked them in their rooms, Governor.
Oh, yes, of course, I agree. Mrs. Armitage, I'd like you to arrange some extra exercise periods to cover the off-work hours.
And it will mean a heavy extra workload on my officers, madam. They are under considerable strain as it is.
Yes, I realise that. I asked you to see if you could arrange it.
Very well, madam.
Ah, there you are, Governor. Oh, am I interrupting?
We'd nearly finished. Yes?
I wondered if you'd fixed a time yet for the senior staff meeting.
What, today?
It is usually held in the morning, but...
Oh, I don't think there's any point in a meeting of the senior staff until I've met them all individually. See, otherwise I'd waste time trying to find out who's who in a row of unknown talking heads.
So no meeting?
No.
Right.
Oh, is Dr. Mays back yet?
I imagine so. It is now 2:55.
Well, if you're passing his office, would you ask him to come and see me?
Certainly.
So it went all right?
Oh, yes, fine. There was a lot of the usual waffle, but there were one or two quite interesting things.
How was the weather?
It rained a lot.
Pity.
Is something wrong?
Should there be? I just thought you might have called or sent a postcard or something.
Well, yes, I did mean to drop you a line, but there was so much reading up to do at the conference.
And you can't even stop now.
Oh, have a heart, Liz. I got nearly 2 weeks' bump to catch up on. I will take you out for a drink later and fill you in with all the scandal at the conference, precious little. And you can bring me up to date in Stone Park, OK?
Okay.
How's the new governor, by the by?
Well, X the unknown so far, but from all I've heard, I'm going to enjoy working with her.
Good.
All right, I know you're busy. You'll ring me tonight?
My Hippocratic oath.
Oh, don't expect jolly chaps. Doctor's doing his paperwork.
Oh?
She's right, you know.
Well, you better pack it in. You've been summoned. Governor's office.
Now?
I wouldn't hang about if I were you.
Come in.
Excuse me, Mrs. Marshall. This is, Dr. Mays.
How do you do?
How do you do? I have got rather a lot to get on with, so if you'll forgive me.
Yes, of course. Do sit down, Doctor.
Thank you. Now, wait a minute. Susie McCrae.
God, what a difference. Do you know, gorgeous, that's the first time you've moved in 10 minutes. You're incredible. Do you know what you're like? You're like one of them sexy dolls. A great, big, thick, gorgeous, sexy doll. Well, they always say if you want to be beautiful, you've got to work at it. Can I have a word, Mandy? Oh, yes. Come on, gorgeous, we've got a visitor.
I'd like a word alone with Mandy, if you don't mind, Karen. It must get a bit lonely for conversation in here.
No, she talks all right when she's not gilding the lily.
What about?
Oh, makeup. No, clothes, men. What turns men on, what you can get out of them.
Well, maybe you won't have to share with her much longer. I've got news for you. I've been to see that woman you told me about, Mrs. Ballard, the one you first worked for.
Yeah.
She was... Well, frankly, she was shocked to hear you were in here. But she'll certainly speak for you. And she's prepared to take you back.
Oh, she's so
Look,
nice.
at least on a temporary basis.
Oh, do you know, I should never have left there. None of this would have happened.
No, I don't expect so. And there's another thing. The new governor, Mrs. Marshall, she must have known you at Lexham. She'll put in a good word for you.
No, she won't.
What do you mean? Why not?
Look, I promised her that I wouldn't get in any more trouble. Well, she told me today. She's never going to trust me again.
I'm sure you must have misunderstood her, Mandy.
And then you got married.
Yes. Jack Marshall. An accountant. Canadian. We went to live in Toronto.
And where is Mr. Marshall now?
Well, he's probably still in Toronto. It didn't work out.
Oh. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not cut out to be a company wife. To be on call as a hostess. To have no social life except for with the other company wives.
So you came back and joined the prison service.
Yes, I exchanged one kind of prison for another.
You know, now that I look at you, I'm amazed I didn't recognize you at once. You've hardly changed.
A bit more mature, perhaps. Anyway, it's been 25 years.
Oh, God, yes, I suppose it must be. See, when I saw the name, Mrs. Marshall, Susan Marshall, well, that didn't mean a thing to me. I mean, I didn't begin to put it together with Susan McCrae. Last seen, standing on the West Sands at St. Andrews.
Well, the moment I saw Dr. Peter Mays, I knew it had to be you. Well, I'm certainly very glad we've had the chance to meet like this, alone.
Well, yes, yes. It would hardly have done if you had turned up on an official visit and I had suddenly let out a yell and collapsed, fainting.
Yes, that's rather what I mean. You see, I wouldn't really like if...
I see. Well, I won't say anything about it if that's what you want.
Well, it may seem unnecessary, but just at the moment...
Is everything working out all right?
Oh, yes. Yes, everything's fine. My predecessor seems to have thought of everything, and of course the staff here are so capable and experienced, and everything runs so smoothly. There's scarcely any need for a governor. All I have to do is to follow exactly in my predecessor's footsteps.
Yes.
if I write to you, Mitch, will you write to me?
Didn't know you could write, Tink.
Well, I can get somebody to write for me. Or I could learn, if you want me to.
I'll be out of here myself in 6 months.
You wouldn't have got past the alphabet.
Well, it's a job I hate. I'll be glad when it's somebody else's turn.
Somebody's got to censor the letters. Well, naturally it feels like an intrusion. But just think of the kind of things they could make up about what went on in here. And anyway, it's only right that if someone outside writes something hurtful, well, that one of us should be there to break it to them.
How would you like to tell a woman that her 10-year-old daughter's written to say she doesn't want to see her anymore?
It has to be done.
Do you want to go and tell Nancy? No, I bloody thought not.
Lisa Parks being nice to you, was she?
Well,
Have you thought about it? You want to pose for me?
It suits me. When?
You choose. Ball's in your court now.
it's all right, Karen, I've finished. You'll be getting out in a couple of days, won't you, Tinker? You'll be looking forward to it.
Don't want to go.
Of course you do. Once you get outside, you'll see things differently.
We've got a little bit of bad news for you, Nancy.
Oh, no, my little Lorraine.
Yes, now,
What's
Nancy,
happened?
come.
What's happened?
Come on
Tell me
now.
what...
And you
we
come
must
in
be
here.
back if you're being
Come in
honest.
here. There we
Tell me
are.
what...
It'll all be all right.
I think I'm getting a breakthrough on Mandy Shaw's parole.
Oh, that's good, Liz.
It's early days yet, of course, but I'd say her application's got a chance of being favourably heard. Except, she seems to think Mrs. Marshall wouldn't back her.
Oh, I don't see why not. The governor was asking about Mandy earlier on. Seemed quite interested in her.
No, Mandy was probably just being over-anxious. I'm due to see the governor in about 10 minutes. I'll take it up with her.
Why not?
I'm really looking forward to meeting her.
No, I'm afraid I can't go along with that, Miss Clark.
Are we talking about the same person, Amanda Shaw? You must have known her well at your previous establishment, Governor.
It's because I knew her well and thought a lot of her that I cannot recommend her now for parole.
I don't understand.
You better sit down, Miss Clark. Mandy is a personable, fairly intelligent girl who worked as nanny in people's houses. Once she'd won their trust, she began to rob the houses systematically. In the last 2 or 3 places, she arranged to have them burgled when she was left in charge.
Don't you see? Always by the same man.
Yes?
Well, she's lonely, insecure. Once he had a hold on her affection, he used her.
I think it was the other way around. But whichever it was, having been caught once and convincing everybody she'd learned a lesson, she went straight out and did the same thing again.
Because she was made to, in her own way. She's a victim.
No, she's a predator. And because of her appearance, she's given affection and trust. She uses them like weapons.
Oh, of course, if someone lets you down badly, it's difficult to credit them again. But she has finished with this man, and she's genuinely desperate for a fresh start.
I have to be convinced.
Well, I have no hesitation in recommending her
Well,
for
I'm
parole.
afraid I can't agree with
Well,
you.
Mrs. Forrester agreed with me.
I am not Mrs. Forrester. I realize you probably don't need reminding of that. But if Mandy is eligible now for parole, I'm afraid I can't add my recommendation.
Oh, would you believe it?
Yeah, I'd believe it.
I never heard anything so opinionated, so self-righteous. What kind of a person would give up on a girl just because she's taken one step back? Now, she obviously feels offended because she once took a personal interest in the girl.
And now you are taking a personal interest in the same girl.
What do you mean?
Parole is a delicate matter. If a mistake is made, the whole system is thrown into question. You cannot recommend it until you are absolutely certain.
You agree with Mrs. Marshall?
I'm not qualified to judge. It's nothing to do with me.
Charles, what about you?
I'd have thought Shaw had a good case for parole. And I must say, I think Mrs. Marshall's coming on a bit strong for someone who hasn't been here for 24 hours yet. What do you make of her, Peter?
Well, I get the impression that she takes her position here pretty seriously.
Well, that's just it. You'd have thought she'd go easily at first, see how things work here, win the confidence of the women and the staff.
Come in.
I've been bitten.
By the governor?
Eh? No, it's old Jenny Watts.
Let's see. Oh, that's nasty. That's really nasty.
What happened?
Well, she fell down the stairs. I went to pick her up and she bit me. Just like that.
Not like that?
No, just like that. Don't know who's more surprised, her or me.
Well, sit down, I'll clean it up.
Have you charged her?
No, she's half daft. Wouldn't hurt her fly, normally.
I may have to give you a shot of something, too.
I don't think she's got rabies, do you?
Who, the governor?
She seems to have made a deep impression on you.
What sort of impression has she made on your officers?
Too soon to say. Not many have had dealings with her yet.
Look, there's no point in going on about it. It's our duty to back the governor, whoever and whatever she is. She makes the decisions, we carry them out as best we can.
Oh, my God. Oh, Peter.
Am I disturbing you?
Not at all.
To put your mind at rest, I'm not planning to stay. I just thought on my way home I should call and see if you were settling in all right.
Oh, yes, everything's fine. Come in.
Yeah, it's quite a decent flat, as official flats go.
Yes. It's a bit gloomy there. I can hardly start redecorating, though, can I?
Why not?
Why, it's Mrs. Forrester's. I've only had it for a year.
Well, I wouldn't let that bother you. It certainly could do with brightening up a bit.
Well, once I've got one or two of my own things up, it'll look a bit better.
Oh, dear. I never imagined that you would turn into a solitary drinker.
Oh, would you like one?
I love one.
Right. Let's play hunt the glasses.
Good.
Yeah, hold it like that. That's lovely. Here, get this leg down. Come over on your hip, that's right. Not too Can you turn your head to the right and look down? That's right, I'll do it like that. Can you get that thing off your shoulders a bit? A bit lower. Keep your head round to the right, looking down. Yeah, that's great. Cigarette?
No, thanks. Don't you read the statistics?
Yes. You were doing postgraduate work at Dundee when we met, weren't you?
Yes, yes, that's right. Hello. Then I came down to a practice in East London.
That must have been interesting.
Well, yes, it was. It certainly changed my whole view of medicine, my career, if you like. So much so that I never did become a rich, famous consultant. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Stone Park is as near as I ever got to Harley Street.
You've done very well.
So have you. For a rather scatty girl who was going to teach history.
Scatty.
Yeah.
Well, I did for a time, before I was married. After that, I helped run an approved school.
Well, you certainly shot up the ladder of the prison service.
Oh, I happened to be in the right place at the right time.
No, there's much more to it than that. They were saying this morning how impressed they were by
They
the
discussed me.
Well, naturally. Don't tell me that you didn't talk to your old staff about how things were going to be at Stone Park.
Yes, of course I did.
Charles Radley was saying how impressed he was by your paper on open prisons and the young offender.
Oh, really?
He may not look like it, but he can read, you know.
Oh, yes. It's just that he scares me.
Scares you?
I get the feeling that he's looking at me and thinking, whoever gave her a job of running a place like this?
No, it's just the opposite. I mean, it's the same with all of them. Liz Clark, Mrs. Armitage, Miss Parrish. Of course, they are a bit cagey at the moment. I mean, they know that you are bound to make some changes.
Changes?
Almost the last thing that Helen Forrester said to me before she left was, I don't suppose I'll recognize this place when I get back.
But I'm acting governor. My job is to keep things running. I can't make changes. Mind you, I can see where improvements could be made.
Well, that's it, exactly. Any new governor is bound to put a different emphasis on different things. Only it's easier for them to accept if it comes from someone whose reputation they admire. You mustn't be upset if they do seem, well, a touch standoffish at first. They really are a very friendly lot. But they do have to take their cue from you.
Yes.
You've got to grow up, T. These things happen, they're like part of life.
What's up, Tinker? Come on, you can tell me.
Mitch.
Mitch, what about her?
She's up there with Karen. She won't let me come in.
That's not right. It's your room as well, Tinker.
Oh, no, please, Miss
You
Fox,
leave this to
don't.
me, Tinker.
Yeah? You're ever so slightly in the way.
I realise that Stone Park cannot be run in the same way as in an open and formal prison. There we encourage a fairly liberal atmosphere of mutual trust. I think a version of that exists here, but it could be developed. And I believe we can help each other. Now, I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression of myself yesterday. I am conscious of the fact that I am, as it were, filling in. But that doesn't mean to say I'm prepared to be a rubber stamp. If there's something I don't agree with, or I want done, I shall have no hesitation in saying so. See, already I'm beginning to feel that I know you better, and the work of your departments. And as time goes on, I shall, of course, become more closely acquainted with it. But in the meantime, I hope you'll bring any problems you may have to me. I may be able to help. And it's only by working together that we really get to know one another.
What do you make of that, then?
Well, I should have seen that she was being over-anxious yesterday. At the time, I was so busy trying to make an impression myself, I never even wondered how she...
Come on, ladies, get a move on. Cleaning detail should be ready by now. Come on, hurry it up.
Ow! Bleeding hell, it's my eye! It's my eye! What's happened to my eye?
Well, it's a nasty scratch, but she's lucky. She could have lost an eye.
I'll say she was lucky. You look at this.
Well, it's not my needle, if that's what you mean. I do all my sewing under supervision. Arts and crafts.
Look, nobody's accusing you, Nancy. We just want to know if you've any idea who could have put the needle into this stick of
It's
makeup.
a clue. And it wouldn't be a grass if I told you, because it's diabolical, but I just don't know.
And you don't know of anybody who's had a row with her, who's got it in for Karen?
No, Chief. Well, everybody likes her. Nothing not to like.
All right, Nancy, thank you, that's all.
I hope you get her, madam. Gives you the creeps.
All right, Nancy, that's enough.
That's the lot, madam. And we discovered absolutely nothing. No one saw anything, suspected anything, and no one can or will say who might be involved.
They all seem as horrified as we are.
Yes. Well, we'll just have to keep our eyes open. Mrs. Spencer, ask your officers to keep a lookout, will you? Anything suspicious, and report to Miss Collins or Mrs. Armitage.
Very good, madam.
Thank you.
Come along now,
Nothing.
let's get moving.
Just playing detectives.
Hello there. Oh, come on, let's have a look. Doesn't look too nice. Never mind, in a week or two it will have faded. And if you cover it up, nobody will ever notice.
Yeah, if they don't know where to look.
I'm worried about Karen. Parks. It's serious, you know. You can't imagine the things she tells her, what she promises her.
High five.
Well, you know Karen. She's no match for someone like Parks. She could get into real trouble. Well, someone ought to write a letter to somebody on the outside who could do something about it.
Oh, thank you, Miss Parks.
What's the point? Wouldn't get past the censors.
Well, it could be smuggled out. Or better still, let the censor read it.
What?
Well, if it was strong enough. Well, of course it wouldn't get through, but what it said would be bound to get around. Well, that'd do it.
What were you talking about?
Oh, things.
Did she say anything about me? Mitch? Did she?
What's wrong?
I'm getting out the day after tomorrow. Mitch will hardly talk to me. It's like she's forgot me already.
No, she won't.
I know she will. Just forget.
You want to give her something to remember you by. You know, like a little present.
I ain't got nothing. Well, what could I...
Something for a drawing. Not another pencil, she got loads of those. How about a nice silver pen?
To do such a thing. Oh, I know she's dim, but she's pretty harmless.
Well, the best we can hope for is that someone will trade information for a favour.
Oh, yes, but something else could happen while we're waiting.
I don't think that... What are you up to, Tinker?
What made you think you could get away with it? What got into you?
I wanted it to give to Mitch.
It appears to be true, madam.
How did you imagine she'd be able to use it? Look, if you weren't being released tomorrow... Oh, very well. I hereby caution you, and I warn you not to try anything like this again. Right? Do you agree with that, Miss Bailey?
Oh, yes, madam. Somehow she got it into her head that she wanted a goodbye present for Mitchell. Well, she worships her. Follows her around like a little puppy.
There's no harm in her, madam. She's not even conspicuously successful as a thief.
You realise you were lucky to get off. Oh, well, let's forget about that. There are a few small details connected with your release tomorrow.
Don't want to. I want to stay here.
Now, you must realise, Tinker, that that's not... I'll be back in a minute.
Now, we've fixed you a room in the district you were before. There's a job for you if you want it. You don't want to leave here because of Ruby Mitchell?
Mitch is my friend. She taught me things.
Yes.
Now she won't hardly talk to me even. Just sits there looking at that picture of her.
Who?
Karen. That Karen. Mitch used to draw me. Look.
Yes. You don't like Karen?
She's all right. Nice enough. Been nicer to me. But see, she's got Mandy. She don't even want Mitch.
Well, end of another perfect day.
Bliss.
Cheers. Seeing Liz tonight?
I don't think so.
Well, stop me if I'm poking my nose in.
You'd poke it in anyway, wouldn't you?
Do I get the impression that things are tapering off between you two?
Come in.
Well, you two've got that guilty look.
Cheers.
Good health.
It's all right for some. I've just had rather an upsetting half hour with little Tinker Rosen.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, thanks. There was something... Oh, nothing.
Liz has an extraordinary way of saying a word like nothing and making it mean a great deal.
Which she is not about to tell us.
It was just an idea a bit far-fetched. Water under the bridge now, anyway.
Could I see you a moment, Miss Collins?
Oh, I was just on my way home.
I would appreciate it.
All right.
You know, I'm dealing with the letters at the moment. Well, I came across this one by Ruby Mitchell.
Oh, surely she knows she's not allowed to write to newspapers.
Yes. The fact is, it contains rather a lot about me. Thought you ought to see it.
Is any of what she says true, Miss Parks?
No, not a word of it.
Good. Then I'll go and see her and get her to tear this up. She'd better understand that making allegations like these could be very serious for her.
And for me?
Yes.
Would you mind if I talked to her myself, Miss Collins? Oh, not to try any rough stuff. Just to get it all settled amicably.
No, Miss Parks, I'd prefer
I
to
know,
do...
Mitchell. Well, she gets funny ideas in her head, but I think I can get it settled with no harm done.
OK, if you're sure.
Thank you. You've got real talent. But you are wrong about me if you think I'm interested in someone like her. Oh, she's just an object, that's all. She's pretty enough. She's not like you. I think we understand each other. Other things being equal. But they're not.
What do you want?
Those things you've written about me. I think I know why you wrote them. But they're just not true.
I are different.
Look, there's no point in us falling out. There's no point in us having a go at each other. Not if you think about it.
Where'd you get that? How did you get hold of it?
I'm dealing with the letters just now. So you see, we can keep it strictly between ourselves.
Been reading my letters, you?
It's a job. We just skim over them. Look, I'll leave it here. Okay?
What are you doing? Ruby!
I'm to blame. I should never have let her deal with it herself.
Quite right, Miss Collins.
But I only wanted to deal with it internally and to keep it quiet.
Look, one of my officers has been half strangled.
All right, Mrs. Armitage. Look, your instincts are right, Miss Collins. But, as it's turned out, we have Mitchell in solitary confinement waiting to be seen by the Board of Visitors. Now, let us look at the implications. Miss Collins said there was aggression on the wing. Had there been any trouble between Mitch and Miss Parks before this?
Only a little friendly sparring, nothing serious.
Oh. So once again, we have nothing positive to go on. How is it part of a pattern? Is there some connecting factor we've missed?
There may be. Well, it's just a suspicion. But it could be the link.
Thank you, Mrs. Armitage.
What's this?
I'd like to talk to you.
You're wasting your time.
You may convince yourself with that hard-nosed act, but not me. Now, can we talk like intelligent adults?
What's the point? I'm going to get the bleeding book thrown at me, aren't I?
Yes. I want to know what happened.
You know what happened.
I want to know why.
Story of my life.
If you like.
Well, you've heard about me, you know what I'm like.
Yes?
Yeah, well, that's it.
Well, why would that suddenly make you turn on Miss Parks? Did you believe those things you wrote about her?
How is she?
Well, she'd been in hospital for a week or so. You nearly killed her.
Yeah. I could have. The last minute, I got this thing, see, as well as everything else, I get these ideas. I get kind of stuck on someone or something, usually something I can't have, and it balls into my head and spreads out. So it's the only thing in it.
Karen?
Yeah. This time. I fight it. God knows I fight it. It's like being bloody crucified, except you're doing it to yourself. Guilt, I suppose. You have to pay for what you are.
Why did you turn on Tinker? Why Tinker?
I don't want to see Tink when I get out, do I? Better make her wake up now. She'd kill herself hoping. Anyway, she did something I didn't like. Leastways, I think she did.
What, the eyeshadow?
Yeah. What's the point in blaming Tink? It's not her fault, it's mine. Always is.
But what about Miss Parks? Now, you said you could have killed her, but something stopped you at the last moment.
Yeah. I saw myself, didn't I? I saw myself standing over her with my hands round her throat. And Mandy.
Mandy?
Janie Parks was right. Other things being equal, we could have... She's the only one I cared for in this dump. Tinker was nothing. And Karen... Janie was right again, just an object. But I was really stuck on her. And Mandy saw that. She's clever. And she used me, so... Gosh sake, tell me why.
So it was all Mandy Shaw?
Yes, she pulled the strings and everybody round her jumped.
And it was she who made Tinker put that needle in the makeup to spoil Karen's looks.
And then she set about creating friction between Miss Parks and Mitch.
Why? Was she jealous of Karen? Did she want Mitch to pay attention to her?
No, I think she just wanted to manipulate them. See what happened.
You had a feeling all along about her, didn't you, Governor?
Yes. Yes, I remembered her at Lexham. She was a model prisoner at a time when we were having a lot of trouble there. Fights and jealousies. Something quite unusual in the atmosphere that we created there.
But no sign that Mandy was involved?
No, but it gradually died down and stopped after she was released.
And the friction Miss Collins noticed on North Wing.
Yes, somehow that sounded familiar. But since everybody round here seemed so certain Mandy was no part of it, well, we must always give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, she certainly had me fooled. Remind me next time to ask you what you think.
There's really nothing we can do to her, is there?
Not a thing. Nothing we can pin on her.
So she may lose her parole, but apart from that, she'll get off scot-free.
So it was you that got Tinker to nick that pen?
You should have seen her face when they nabbed her.
I did. Now, how'd you get Mitch to think old Parks fancied me?
It was easy.
It's a bit dodgy, though, wasn't it, that trick with the needle?
Oh, I didn't know Tinker would pull nothing like that. I'm sorry, Karen.
I could have lost my eye.
Oh, you didn't. Anyway, you got another one.
But it was my eye. You know what you are? You're a mixer. You're a dirty little mixer.
Look, if you've suddenly become articulate only to be abusive, you can forget it. What do you think you're doing?
In case anyone hears you over all that racket that's going on out there. I don't want them getting in too quick.
You wouldn't touch me.
You wouldn't dare!
We drew matchsticks for who was going to do you, darling. And I was the lucky one.
Yeah, broken nose, 2 cracked ribs.
I wouldn't have thought Karen had it in her.
Ah, she comes from a rough school, Mrs. Marshall.
Oh, she'll have to be punished.
Yes. The going over she gave her was almost professional.
Yes.
Real rough justice, more like the Wild West. What?
Oh, just a thought.
What is it?
Well, if it was the Wild West, Mr. Radley, then you'd be a deputy marshal.